My name is Steve Zeltzer. I'm with United Public Workers for Action and United Front Committee for Labor Party. And we're here today to speak out about the systemic racism, the retaliation, the bullying that's really out of control in the city and county of San Francisco. And this has been going on, unfortunately, for decades in the city. And it's kind of come to a head recently by revelations that the manager of the EEO was actually forging documents and destroying documents, destroying EEO complaints, and also telling workers that if they dropped their complaints that they would get a settlement. Their legal complaints, they would get a settlement. Now, this is completely not only immoral, unethical, but is illegal. It's criminal. And what we're here today to do is to talk about the real, not only the systemic racism, but the criminality, and to call on Chesa Boudin, the district attorney, and also Xavier Becerra to start prosecuting the systemic corruption in the city and county of San Francisco. These people need to go to jail. They need to go to jail. When they violate the rights of working people and racist attacks, and they're criminals, and that's what they are. And unfortunately, because there's so many of them, and they cover each other up, there's no action. Little people go to jail. If a city worker did something, they would go to jail. But if it's these officials, these managers, they seem to have a free hand. They seem to have a free hand to violate our rights, to conduct systemic racism. A year ago, there were hearings in the city and county of San Francisco, 2 days of hearings against systemic racism. And worker after worker testified about how they were retaliated against, how they were harassed. I mean, outrageous harassment going on in the city and county of San Francisco. And what happened after those hearings? Nothing. Nothing. So can you imagine you have 2 days of hearings with the city and county of San Francisco at City Hall right down the road, and they talk about how they've been their rights have been violated, they've been terrorized, they've been accused of being name callings, they've been illegally discharged, and after those hearings, nothing happens. So why did nothing happen? Nothing happened because the corruption is from the top down. Managers, human relations manager, Mickey Callahan has been doing this. She said she doesn't know about it. Michael Brown at the Department of Public Health was involved in this, retaliations, racist retaliations, and we're saying enough is enough, and we're demanding that they be investigated and criminally prosecuted. We have to have criminal prosecution. They have to be held accountable for the outrageous actions that they've done, which are really a crime against people. They've terrorized people. People have lost their homes. They've become homeless. I mean, people have probably died as a result of this harassment, bullying, and terrorism against city employees. It has to end. It has to end now. That's why we're having their press conference. So we're going to have speakers, and we also, this is not the end. We're going to be having other actions because this is not a one-shot deal. We need to have a consistent education campaign against what's happening.
My name is W.D. Flint. I'm a nurse with the City and County of San Francisco for 21 years in November. I'm also a senior shop steward, and I'm part of Union SEIU 10-1. Basically, as I participated in a rally, and this was a rally at one of the psychiatric facilities on San Francisco General Campus. It's called the MRF. And what happened is that we had a director, she's still there, her name is Linda Sims, and she basically was going to destroy the housing of long-term residents that had been given permanent status there. That was a big rally. I participated in that, but during this time I was being harassed. Pardon me. There is much harassment, intimidation, and bullying in that building. And I have talked to many of the members there. I've gotten statements from them, and many of them are willing to come forward once they have immunity. They won't be affected by the management. But basically what happened is that as I started to renew my license with the state, it did not recognize me in the database, the state of California. And I've been in that database for 33 years. I contacted the Attorney General, and he contacted them, and then all of a sudden my name magically appeared. But the thing is that when I turned in my receipt for paying for my license, I was told at work by Linda Sims, by various staff, that I was not to come in until my name appeared on the database. And I'm saying it's already on the database, but they wouldn't look. All they had to do was look or ask someone. This is a way to get rid of me. But as being a senior shop steward, for them to do these things, that's a violation of federal labor law. And I don't know why someone has not stepped forward. I am very visible. I've been known in this system for 21 years. And there are countless flagrant violations of law that have been ignored. And we don't want to take it anymore. We are standing forward with that. My license has been renewed. I am again getting ready to go to arbitration. And basically it depends upon the support that you get. My first arbitration, I was terminated in 2010. I waited 3.5 years for arbitration. Can any of you imagine what that's like? 3.5 years without income. And so I had to make my income by doing little odd jobs and whatever. And basically I got on food stamps and things like this, but it was rough. But I learned how they do this. I still had those documents. I still had the recording. I still had the pictures. And we need to look at this evidence, and I'm talking to Chesa Boudin. I'm calling you out. Look at our evidence, and we expect some prosecutions. Thank you very much. And I have seen many criminal actions that have not been prosecuted with the city. I've saved documents, I've saved recordings, and this is one thing I want to send out to our members. Take the time when you are harassed, when you are going through terrorism in your workplace, and they do this constantly, and many people cover themselves, you can afford to buy a mini recorder to verify your claims. You need to do this because Mickey Callahan and her group, they find ways to intimidate you or try and get around it. Many people that are in HR should be criminally prosecuted. To give you an example, I was waiting for a position. I had just won my arbitration, which I waited 3.5 years for. And basically, once I won the arbitration, they placed me right back under the same supervisor. Needless to say, I had to file again. But I'm saying these types of things go on in the city. There's a lot of nepotism. Many people that are related to other people, and they cover up grievances. They cover up illegal actions. We had a nurse when I worked at the jail that worked 24 hours a day on many days. As a nurse, you cannot work legally more than 16 hours. It's unsafe. But this woman was able to work. She was able to hide in the treatment room on other hours. I mean, she'd work the day shift, she'd work a PM shift, and then at night she'd sleep in the treatment room, and she'd still get paid. And every year, you see her in the newspaper making thousands of dollars, close to $500,000, and nobody checked it. It was reported, but she was covered. Why? I have tried to contact many prosecuting people, including Chesa Boudin, which I'm in the process of trying to contact now. I have documents, I have recordings, I have statements, I have witnesses, and I want them evaluated. This is not an idle incident, and people have to come forward. You have to not be afraid. I understand that now many HR people are threatening employees about not having recording devices. If you can record something that's illegal, it's valid. But then again, I suggest you keep it low. Don't put yourself in jeopardy, because many of the people that work along with you, they might try and get with HR to try and cover themselves. There's a lot of this going on. But these illegal things that go on must be remedied. Many, many black people are threatened, are pushed out of their jobs first. And many black people that want to keep their jobs, they work the night shift so they don't come in contact with HR and with management. They're afraid to even come out in the light of day. This is because of the way the city is run. Someone has to step up. I've assigned myself, and I'm going to continue. Thank you very much for your time. I'm W.D. Flint. I'm a senior shop steward, and I can be contacted at wdflint, F-L-I-E-N-T, at yahoo.com.
That the unions in San Francisco start backing the workers. A lot of this retaliation and racism would not take place if the unions did their jobs. If there's systemic racism, which there is in the city and county of San Francisco, they should file a federal complaint against the city and county of San Francisco. They should demand that managers who violate the law be fired. They don't demand accountability from the managers who are violating the law. If you have a racist manager, or if racist actions are taken and it's covered up, what you're saying to the managers, it's okay. It's okay to do this. And this is again an example of systemic corruption. Systemic corruption is when they benefit, and managers do benefit by harassing and retaliating against workers. In fact, the manager at Laguna Honda Hospital who was exposed for stealing money, taking money, diverting it. She was promoted after they fired 2 doctors at Laguna Honda Hospital. So what does that say? If you expose corruption here in the city and county of San Francisco, instead of the people who are doing it being held accountable, you are the enemy, you are retaliated against, you are fired, and the person that did that is promoted. What the hell is going on in San Francisco? What the hell is going on in San Francisco? Over $70 million has been paid out in settlements to workers who've been fired, most of them white, but many blacks, who've been fired and discriminated against, lawyers, and the city attorney allows this. In fact, the Board of Supervisors all vote for these settlements. They vote for $70 million of settlements, and they're not demanding that the managers who committed these egregious actions, these illegal actions, be held accountable, be fired and retaliated against. So that means it's a cover-up. That means that the city officials are knowingly covering up the corruption. They're knowingly allowing these managers to get away with that.
Hi, my name is Valerie Tabron. I'm a 9102 transit car cleaner. I've been discriminated against. I had terrorist threats on me, denied promotions and everything. The problem is with the city. I've been with them 40 plus years. And every time I went down to retire, every year, I was told by Michael that I don't know, he doesn't know how many years I have, that if I pay him $30-some thousand, he could tell me when I could retire. And let's get to the union. Hector Carnitas, I have sent several emails over a period of 15, 20 years. He never responded. He needs to be held accountable. They need to put him out. It needs to be criminal investigation against everyone within MUNI, SF, MTA, and Human Resources. Now to get to Julie Christbaum, she needs to be investigated. They just had a supervisor that she appointed to a special position to hire people. They hired 40-something people that's supposed to be over cleaning the buses because of COVID. And the problem is with that, her name is Myra Phillips. She has brought in so many of her relatives, and they scored #1 and #2 on the list. How is that? Myra made up the tests. Okay, how can you make up the test and give your relatives the answers and then turn around? Julie does the investigation, but the investigation is done amongst the people their relatives were hired. That's totally against the law. Civil Service haven't came in and checked on this. It wasn't submitted to Human Resources. Now you have all these car cleaners running around scared, fear for their job, fear for their life, and nothing is being done. Okay, and they need to be held accountable. Now, let's get to my lockers, my chairs and everything being cut and stolen. I got surveillance footage. Trina Dixon, she wasn't held accountable. It shows where she went into the locker room, she cut the locks, she stole everything out of my locker, cut the chairs, stole all the equipment, and walked right under the surveillance footage. She threatened to kill me and another coworker. Again, nothing was done about it. Kenza Tang in Human Resources, no, she doesn't need to get away with it. Maria Valdez, you have so many different people that were, Randy Catnach, then he's another one. He gave out the tests to his friends, and now he's been under investigation. He's a special supervisor. They gave him a special position. Now they're allowing these people to run and retire. Why can't these people retire? They don't give them the option where they fire them, because that's what should be done. They let them retire. Then you got different other supervisors that's coming in. They're bringing their relatives. Again, nothing's been done about it. And I think it needs to be a criminal investigation on Julie Christenbaum and everyone else that's within Human Resources. And then you look, Maria Valdez that moved up the ladder. Every time they block a case, they move these people up the ladder. And it's just not right. It's not acceptable. And we are human beings, okay? I didn't end up with high blood pressure and everything. I have over 30-something complaints that was submitted. And each time, Human Resources threw them out. Donald Ellison threw them out. Okay, Neil Pop threw them out. They never did any kind of investigation. And they all need to be held accountable. They shouldn't be able to retire or anything of that sort. And I expect something to happen about it right now. December 27, 2018, I fell at work and hit my head on a cabinet and a metal lock. A supervisor by the name of Barry Gerhardt, he refused to call the paramedics. He refused to call Central. He refused to even take me to the hospital, which is criminal. Okay, it's against the law to deny a person any kind of medical treatment. After that, I was on workers' comp for like about 3 months, and they sent me back to work. Once I went back to work, they had me see a Dina Spellman. Dina Spellman started hollering at me, talking when she was talking so much, she's spitting in my face. She was spitting in my face so much until she backed me up against a chair. And I sat down in the chair. And by that time I had lost it. I was crying by that time. She goes over to the office and she's hollering, "Come try me. Come try me. I dare you," to try to make people think that I was trying to attack her. That's how dirty SFMTA is. And they stand with each other. They support each other. I sent emails to Julie Christbaum. I sent emails to Ed Redskin. I sent emails to Barry Gerhardt. He didn't do nothing. He just continued to say, "Oh, well, he was kidding." This is the same man that had said to me just a month prior, Barry Gerhardt had said a month prior that women are bitches and whores, okay? Now that was totally disrespectful, and he said that because he put it with when Bill Cosby supposedly drugged the women. And he said that Bill Cosby didn't drug the women, that women are bitches and whores, and they drugged him. So when I asked him what he would mean by that, and I was insulted, he laughed about it. So therefore, when I end up a month later and I had an injury, he refused me any kind of service. And it's really sad because, as the woman said before, I contact the district attorney, I contact every attorney and every supervisor. Nothing was ever done. And from Julie Christbaum, they kept on passing it on. They said to Human Resources. Human Resources kept covering everything up. And it's really sad, and I really want justice. I think everyone needs to be held accountable, and everyone needs to be fired from the top down. Thank you very much.
The systemic racism here is something that has gone on for decades, as I was saying earlier, and it's because the managers and the city officials allow it to go on. They know this is happening, and they won't take any action. So Latrell is going to be our next speaker.
My name is Latrell Huddleston. I am a former employee of the Treasurer Tax Office in San Francisco. I have been affiliated with San Francisco for many, many years. It is obvious that I am a black woman. I am 68 years old at this time. And all of my life, being a black woman, being black, I have dealt with racism. And if anybody knows, racism has been here for 401 years in the United States of America. So I figure if it's 401 years, it's about time that somebody has to be accountable for everything that has been done. It's just time to do that. This is the time. You all here are the ones that we have been waiting for. If we don't do anything about it, the young people and people coming up are going to be losing hope. They're not going to want to work because they're going to say, hey, if I go to work, I'm going to be mistreated. Nobody wants to be mistreated. So my story begins with the Treasurer Tax Department. When I was hired, I worked other jobs before. I worked for the genius Willie Brown over at Treasure Island. I've worked temp jobs out at the airport. I've done deputy marriage commissioner. I've married people and things like that. I've been a deputy marriage commissioner, a deputy clerk. So I've done a lot of things with the city. My dream, when I first saw the city and county of San Francisco, I fell in love with it. I thought I was in fairyland coming across the Bay Bridge. And I was from a little town in Mississippi. I was born in Yazoo City, Mississippi. And I know you all know about the great state of Mississippi. They've been having racism going on there until, they eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner still. So anyway, when I got here, I was so happy. I got hired at the department. My dream had come true. So I figured I could stay at the city and county until retirement. And everything was fine as long as certain people were there. But when my boss, Bob Fletcher, was forced out, but he was given a golden parachute type of thing, and when he left, everything changed. Jose Cisneros was hired, and he ran for office and won. And that was quite some time ago, and he is still in office, which I just don't understand how he could keep his job that long. He should have been voted out a long time ago. He hired a person by the name of David P. Augustine, or David Peter Augustine. And David Peter Augustine has issues with straight women. He is gay, he admits he's gay, and he has complete power. So what I'm saying is, the gay population in San Francisco, California, that work for the city and county all stick together. And I'm not saying they're all bad, because they're not. But the problem is, David Augustine has a big problem. He is a big racist. He does not like black people, and he certainly does not like black women, because he wants to be a woman himself. And he just don't have the body parts to do it. So he basically really is a bad person. When I got there, I was doing great, I was doing fine, and all of a sudden, I had good evaluations, all of that stuff. And when he came in, he changed the way the count went as far as evaluations. Instead of having 9 parts, he had 3. Then what he would do is he would make sure that you would fail, and then you would be put on a PIP. And a PIP is a performance plan. It is to help you get better. It's not to help you get worse. A PIP, a performance improvement plan, should take a few weeks and then it's over. Before I left the city and county of San Francisco, I had 1 PIP that was withdrawn. I was on another PIP. Then I was on another one, so they were running consecutively, which is illegal. And then they were getting ready to put me on a 4th PIP, because the whole thing is, after you have 3 PIPs and fail them, then they give you a Skelly hearing, and then they have the right to terminate you. I was discriminated against every day. I had a nervous breakdown. After I had a nervous breakdown, I went to Kaiser. At the time, Kaiser had problems with giving people psychological help. And so I really didn't get the doctor that I needed, but what wound up happening is I was given the right people to at least help me out. Then the state of California helped me because I had SDI insurance. Okay, there were a lot of people that were involved in what David was doing because he ordered them to do things. One person even said, if David Augustine asked me to, if David Augustine asked you to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, would you do it? You know what she says? Yes. So now when you get people that you're working with like that, who she was my so-called supervisor that he assigned to be over me, what are you gonna do? I mean, she made my life a living hell, okay? Before it was over, I wound up coming back after my breakdown. I went to see HR, a gentleman by the name of Guillermo Tapia, had me at a meeting with Joni Nakamura. They threatened me. Then Guillermo Tapia told me, he said, I'm gonna let you know one thing right now. You might as well go across the street and find out how much money you're gonna get. Now that's racist in itself too, that's a racist statement. So I was saying, well, what do you mean? He says, well, I'm gonna tell you something. He says, Jose is not going to help you. And I said, well, what does that mean? He says, he's not gonna call another manager and let you transfer. he's not going to do anything for you. So you might as well just go on across the street and find out how much money you're going to get. And he says, no, by the way, you know, when I was talking, Joni Nakamura says, you better do what he tells you to do. I said, okay. I said, what did you say? She says, you better do what he tells you to. I said, oh, okay, that's the way it's going to be, huh? So anyway, then Guillermo Tapia told me, he says, and by the way, when you come back, I won't be there. So I don't know what that meant, but I do know that when I did step back into my office to work, it was total silence. Now, I had 2 attorneys against me. Then, when I got back, I wound up getting another attorney because David Augustine was given a promotion by Jose. So I had another attorney, never saw her before. Her name was Stephanie Prophet. She's now working at Twitter. Anyway, I talked to them 3. No matter what meetings I went to about my PIPs and everything, I was always failing. And I know I was qualified for the position. All the vetting that they did on me, especially being a black woman, you know they vetted me real good. And I was doing excellent work. But all of a sudden, I became incompetent. And the kind of funny math that they did, nothing ever added up. So either way, I wound up finally getting tired of them after being back for 8 months. I thought they were going to be kind and nice to me. They doubled down and got worse. So anyway, after that, I'm going to try to get this shorter. After that happened,
I didn't mean to do that, sorry.
oh, okay. After that happened, I couldn't believe what was going on. So you know what I did? Walked across the street, and I decided that I was going to meet up with the retirement board, and I was going to see if I could retire. I'd already sent some earlier information in by the email. I followed all the rules so they could give me different retirement dates. The gentleman was very nice and kind to me. He gave me a retirement date, and then one day I came into work, and I left, just left. And it was on a Friday. And Stephanie Prophet kept on saying, well, aren't you going to come in Monday? Aren't you going to come in Monday? Then she started following me to the elevator. And she said, I don't think you're coming in Monday. And then she said, well, can't we just talk about this? And I was in the elevator by then, so I just did her a big, no! No, we can't talk about it. So then, too late? That's right. So what happened is, after I left, my heart kept bothering me. My heart said, you know, don't let them get away with that. So I went to the federal government, the U.S. District Court, Northern District Court. I filed a complaint. And the only thing that I could tell you is I met opposition from the Superior Court judge, the chief magistrate judge called Joseph Sparrow. I thought some kind of way the feds were going to help me. The federal government over in Oakland helped me. There was a wonderful judge over there that told me I didn't file my case right because I couldn't get a decent lawyer. So I went on and did the work myself as best I could do. So she helped me. She gave me the federal book, and I went by that. I got me a pro bono lawyer. But unfortunately, the pro bono lawyers in the federal court are very limited at what they could do with people. I still couldn't get a lawyer. When I tried to get lawyers, I was hung up on. I wasn't called back. Or they would call back and say, you know, we just don't do that kind of law. Employment law, there's not a lot of lawyers to do that in San Francisco. And then they got all the lawyers, and what happens is, this is treasure tax. What happens is, if anybody got any kind of trouble with taxes, if anybody got any kind of trouble with anything like that, or if they want something from the city, you don't get any help. When I finally talked to some lawyers a few days before my settlement conference was due, in my paperwork, I got a call. I talked to these lawyers. They told me that they told me, you do have a case. They said, we'll take your case, but you're going to have to give us $10,000 up front, non-refundable, and then $300 until the case settles. So I said, gentlemen, I said, I understand what you just told me. I can give you $300 a month, but I'm certainly not going to give you $10,000 up front, non-refundable. I'm not going to do that. Thank you very much for your time. I filed my papers, and after I filed my papers, I had a settlement conference. When the settlement conference happened, I had a judge named Judge Beeler. She was very, very nice, very understanding, very intelligent woman. She helped me. But the thing is, when we were at the settlement conference table, the defense that was there, that showed up, they started telling lies. I was so upset, I couldn't believe it. And the judge even said, she said, "You okay?" And I said, well, basically, no. So what she did was she saw us separately. She separated us. I told her my side of the story. She went down and got their side. And I told her, I said, well, Judge, I'm going to let you know something. You got to know one thing. They're not going to give me 1 red cent. Now, that's a racist statement, too. I said, but they're not going to give it to me. She was down there a good 40 minutes, and I had a girlfriend that came, and she let sit in the settlement conference, so I had somebody with me. She came, and then when she came back, she says, well, Miss Huddleston, you're not going to get 1 red cent. So, with that said, the judge wound up dismissing my case on a summary judgment. He is known for not wanting the San Francisco city and county to be embarrassed. He's known for that. So he helped them too. So what I'm trying to say is, just like Steve said, it's up at the top. And when you got people up at the top and they got power and they got control, good luck for all the beautiful workers that's out there working their butts off every day. You know, it's just a horrible thing. So now, I just said they need to be investigated. Not only do they need to be investigated, they need to be fired. So I agree with what Steve said. I agree with all of you guys. I thank you for listening. I do have a lot more information. I have paperwork to back up every claim and everything I talked about. Paperwork. They would have lost if I would have gone to trial. So he stopped me from going to trial. He figured that my issue would never see the light of day. So that's why I'm here to bring out what happened to me in the light of the day. I went to a workers' compensation doctor who was on their list of people that I could see. I had SDI, not workers' comp. They wanted me to go workers' comp so they could really put the screws to me. Things didn't happen so good at workers' comp. I had to write several letters. Then when they switched my paperwork over to Oakland, that harassment stopped. Because Oakland was cool over there, just like the judge in federal court was cool. What I forgot to tell you is, when I went to get my brain tested, you know, because I lost it. So when I went to get my brain tested before I went back to work, the doctor, his name is Dr. Smith, he said, you all caused Latrell's breakdown problems. You did it. They had to sign my SDI paperwork. Every time I got paid, before I got paid, Deborah Lou and David Peter Augustine had to sign my paperwork. So they knew what was going on. So when I got back, they rushed over, said, oh, we're sorry. And then after that, they doubled down and kept on mistreating me. That's what I forgot to tell you.
My name is Bradley Wiedmeyer. I'm a IHSS home care worker. We're not officially county workers, city and county, but we are, although we're not paid the wages that county and city workers are paid. It's so good to hear the kind of stories that our coworkers are going through. One of the big reasons that this reception is that we have a one-party state in this city and county, and they're all backing each other up, and they're all not doing due diligence and following the law because there's no challenge to them. This is exactly why we need a Labor Party in the city and county of San Francisco. We need a San Francisco's Workers' Party right now to get justice. You don't have the pressure for dealing with the problems that are out there. And it's really tragic that our unions as well are not standing up for our members and fighting to make sure that individuals are not singled out and attacked, whether it's for gender discrimination or racial discrimination or any religious, national origin. It's outrageous that we're in a situation where we've got no way to resolve this. When we have a one-party state, there's no option to fight this. In home care right now, there's a real problem with PPE, with the COVID, and it's a problem that the whole society is just writing off people of color, seniors, people who are homeless. We need to have a political party that represents us, that will stand up for our members and will support our union, our organized workers, and our city and county workers. So I hope that we can move forward in that direction, because right now we're dead in the waters with what we've got. Thank you.
We're demanding that Chesa Boudin investigate and prosecute. He says he wants to go after the crooks. The crooks are right here in this building. Right here in this building. He doesn't have to go very far. And in fact, this manager of EEO was destroying documents. That's criminal. Was telling people to give up their cases because they'd make a settlement. And not doing that. All this is recorded. Where is Chesa Boudin?
My name's Christina Lee. I'm here with the Freedom Socialist Party, and I am here to stand in solidarity with our city workers, our folks of color who are city workers, essential city workers, who have been keeping this city running during this pandemic, while our city leaders have been sitting on their butts, making it harder for them and taking away their raises that they were promised. And this is no way to treat the people that keep our city running. And it is not fair for the people who are managing these city departments to, rise up through the ranks and then pull up the ladders behind them. What we need is to have more of these city jobs available for people who live and work in San Francisco, not just the family members of people who are in charge. We need to have jobs programs that go into communities and train people to do the work that needs to be done. Don't act like there aren't people that can't do this work. Don't act like you need to go outside of the city to hire these people. We're here. We want to work for the city. We want to make the city a better place. And we can't do that when they're just sitting there and hiring their family members. And we've also been looking at the budget. We were looking at, I'm also with Slash the SFPD Stash Guns and Cash, and we've spent the last month or so looking at the San Francisco city budget, looking at all of the areas where they are wasting money on pizza and overtime that they could be using to do this training and to do this outreach to people in San Francisco. And so thank you to everybody who spoke for standing up for your rights and being clear about what the management has been doing to you, and keep standing strong. We are here with you.
My name is Sam Rubin, and I'm also with the Slash SFPD Stash Guns and Cash Coalition. And like Christina said, we've been looking at the budget, and we find some very troubling things in there. And they say, they put it on, the workers' salaries. They say that, we can't make raises right now. We don't have the money for it. Oh yeah, they do have the money for it. There are many, many millions of dollars that are being wasted on policing. We don't need to do that. Though that money needs to be taken from both the police department and all these other departments where all these other departments are wasting money on policing. There's all these hidden parts of the city budget where they're using it on police, but it's hidden in some other department where that money could go to the workers of that department easily, and including they're not only giving that money to the police department, the sheriff's department, all of that. They're also hiring private security, basically, armed rent-a-cops. It's terrible, and there is no excuse. The money is there, and they're trying to turn around and say, oh well, it's the workers who want these raises, or we can't do that. Like, as if the city workers are like the greedy ones. No, That's ridiculous. It's those high paid administrators, the highest paid people in the city, they don't need the raises. The rank and file workers absolutely do need the raises, and they need them now. And this budget was unfortunately passed, but we still need to keep up this fight. It is not over. We're in a new budget cycle, and we need to just keep this fight up and keep pushing to slash the policing budget and give that money to workers and put that money also into community programs, including not only jobs, but job training and public health care programs and education and transit, actually using the money, so, actually holding SFMTA accountable so that they use it in the right way for transit, which they have not been, and other things that people actually need to survive. We don't need all of this policing. It's just too much. It's really excessive money being put in there, and it needs to stop. So that's all I have to say, and thank you. It was good to see you all speaking, and I really loved seeing what all the workers had to say. So
I want to say just shout out to all the workers who are here and to share your stories, which frankly, I'm sick. I'm sick that people, you're going to work. That's all you want to do. Go to work and do your job and do it well. What do? The bosses. They sit there and they screw you over because they don't like the color of your skin, they don't like your gender, they don't like your politics, right? So they want to get rid of you because they just want to have all their people who are yes, yes people. That's not how it works, right? The reason why we have city jobs and that we have people of color, queers, women, sitting in those positions, because one, we've always been qualified, but two, is they had to do it because they're public jobs. So they don't get to turn it on its head and say, you know what, yeah, we have to hire you, but we're going to thinking about how we're going to get rid of you. They have a strategy, and they've been utilizing it. I just recently retired. I was in ASME 3299. My name is Nancy Cotto. I'm with the Freedom Socialist Party, and I know what it's like to work in an institution where there is racism. Certainly UC Hastings College of the Law, because it's smaller, is not as bad. That's the only reason, believe me. So again, we got to push our unions. This is a widespread problem. The unions need to be taking it up as a whole big issue, not necessarily only one by one. They should do that, but they need to recognize, right, this is a huge problem and it's been going on way too long. Again, we got to reach out to the community because the community is the one who uses the services, right, that you folks provide. And we want to cherish our public workers because you're the frontline people who give us those services, right, and help us through and go the extra mile to make sure we're getting what we want. On some level, a judge was nice to you because the judge knew you probably were a good worker. And it's just reciprocating, right, and going the extra mile because that's what you do. Well, not that one, but the other one who was a little nicer. The nice one. Again, I have no confidence. I have no confidence in judges. I just want to make that clear too. So anyway, again, everything is connected, right? The discrimination we face at work, the police brutality in the streets, the corruption in the city. Look who's in charge, right? They're the ones running it. They're the ones saying, we're going to get rid of all the black workers or we're going to harass them so they quit themselves. So what is it? It's a corrupt city government, right? It's a system, the profit system, which encourages and allows for all this to happen. So while we fight like hell for all these individual cases and the issues, we also know ultimately, we also got to be fighting to get rid of this system. Otherwise, it's going to keep perpetuating, and our kids and our grandchildren are unfortunately going to have to be going through the same thing. So let us not let anyone else have to face what you all have been going through and what workers that we don't even know about are going through, because together we will and we can beat this, beat it back and stop it.
The city is facing a depression. This country is facing a depression. And COVID, there are all these places boarded up. We are in a depression, and they want working people to pay for that depression. So in San Francisco, you have more than 75 billionaires. That's right. 75 billionaires. Those billionaires have to pay for this crisis. The billionaires have to pay for this crisis, not working people. But that's not going to happen with the Democrats in charge of San Francisco. Like, they know that there's racism, systemic racism. What are they doing about it? Nothing. What are they doing about it? Nothing. So we need a working class party, a labor party, a Democratic Labor Party that will actually represent the working people, they'll actually implement the laws. They're not enforcing the laws against racism in San Francisco, in the city and county. It's flagrant, it's brazen. And what we're saying is we have to have a fight to get them to enforce the laws, but we need a political party of working people that are going to go after the billionaires who really run San Francisco in this country. And they do it for profit, and they exploit workers, black workers. They profit from racism. That's systemic racism. Systemic racism, they profit from it by paying women less, by paying gays, by paying blacks less. That's how they make money. And they expect you to take it. So we're saying we're not going to take it anymore. We're going to hold these people accountable, and we're going to be back until we get justice. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Thank you.